As the Niners plugged in as the favorites to draft Fields at 3, followed by the Falcons, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Lions, and then the Jets. Fields was great at Ohio State. He set multiple single-season records, and that's why he's in the conversation now. We got a former Buckeye, now Big Ten Network analyst James Laurinaitis join us. James, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
You've covered Justin Fields all year. How do you assess Justin Fields?
Well, I'm with Brandon. I think that Justin Fields is the best quarterback in this draft. The two head-to-head matchups against Trevor Lawrence, I believe Justin played better on the field than Trevor Lawrence. And it seems like there's one player each and every draft period that tends to get all this criticism for no apparent reason. First, it was the work ethic with Justin Fields. That's not coming out of anyone at Ohio State. Quarterback coach Corey Dennis, head coach Ryan Day. His work ethic was fighting for the season for the Big Ten. He was the one out front on Good Morning America, pounding the table to say, hey, let us play football, for a guy that, quite frankly, didn't need another season to play football at Ohio State in order to be a first-round pick. And then it was the processing. Gosh, you can't really process. He doesn't do a good job reading defenses. And Pro Football Focus comes out with their stats. Actually, he's the most efficient at getting to his second read out of all the college quarterbacks. So for whatever reason, Justin Fields has kind of been the favorite for everyone to pick on in this draft.
Why? I mean, it makes no sense to me. What I've been saying all morning, what I've been saying for months, is if you go back to 2016, 2017, we were talking about two quarterbacks when we talk about the class, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. So, James, you've been covering this guy all year. Man, you got to give me more, because I just don't understand how for years we're talking about these two guys, overall quarterback Trevor and the best dual threat quarterback in Justin Fields. And now all of a sudden, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. Is this criticism? Obviously it's not justified, right? But why are they doing this?
There's two games, Brandon, that will scare you. It's Indiana, where you're a 3-touchdown favorite, and the game was in control for Ohio State. They were in complete control, and then Justin Fields throws some interceptions. Indiana fights back. So I'm not going to make an excuse for Justin Fields, but I'm going to try to give an explanation. Justin Fields had played exceptionally well the first few games of the season in a really shortened season and a lot of uncertainty. He was on a roll. After the Rutgers game, his numbers looked great. His name started coming up in Heisman Trophy conversations. All of a sudden, the game at Maryland gets canceled due to COVID. And then his first time out after that is against Indiana. He's thinking, gosh, I have my foot on the pedal. It's like playing NCAA back in the day or playing Madden. You're about to absolutely trunk somebody, go 21-0 on him, name in the Heisman conversation. It didn't work out for him. He forced some throws that I, quite frankly, have never seen him force before. It wasn't his best showing. Then he gets back on track against Michigan State, goes on to finish the season Northwestern game without Chris Olave, his number one wide receiver on the perimeter. He doesn't have a good game. He only throws for 100-something yards. Not very good as far as his standards. But then we get the Clemson game. 6 touchdowns accounted for, 1 interception, outplays Trevor Lawrence again. Oof. I don't understand why all of the conversation around him has gone this way. Quite frankly, before the draft, I was hoping and praying he would slide to Shanahan and the 49ers. And now I'm hoping that they're smart enough at pick 3 to select him.
When looking at pick 3 and thinking he possibly could slide to number 3, James, obviously the defensive coordinator of that team went to the New York Jets. So when you look at this, I believe the criticisms against Fields is because he is so effective with his legs, while people may look at Trevor as more of a traditional pocket passing quarterback, even though Trevor has wheels as well. But looking at this Jets team, James, is this a fit? Do you see this as being a mistake if Salah goes in a different direction based off of maybe some of the outside noise that is coming towards Justin Fields?
Yeah, well, I think Zach Wilson's going to be a heck of a pro as well. For me, I want to go with the guy who played in the bigger games, a guy that everything is kind of comparative. I want to see who played against the higher competition. It's not always a direct correlation to NFL success. For Justin Fields personally, though, LeVar, I want him in San Francisco. I want him out in the Bay because I want him in that roster, in that situation. It's nothing against New York. I believe that offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, is going to do a nice job. I think that they have some pieces, but there's further away from success. And you guys know this. A lot of time, your NFL career is all dependent a lot on the situation, on the coaching staff, who believes in you, who's going to support you, especially at the quarterback position. So for Justin, because I know him somewhat, I want him to go to San Francisco because I know that roster is really close to getting back to the promised land versus the New York Jets having to be around all that media scrutiny.
Oh, what? Isn't that what you want? That's what you should want for your boy. The Big Apple, baby. What are you talking about? Don't do what no one's ever done before.
The Big Apple hasn't been good for anybody recently.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, James! Stop it.
Let's take a turn. Let's talk some defense now. So our Joel Klatt ranked the top 50 players in the draft, and his top 3 guys on defense were these 3 right here: Virginia Tech corner Caleb Farley, Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons, and then you got Bama corner Patrick Surtain. So we've heard all about the offensive guys, but James, who do you think is going to be the best defensive player to come out of this draft?
Come on, James. Bring it home.
Well, I know LeVar's going to like this one, but I got to go. I'm going to go with athlete. He needs to say athlete Micah Parsons underneath that because this young man, having covering some of Penn State's games, talking to defensive coordinator Brent Pry, he said, look, Micah hasn't even played linebacker for that long. He rushed the passer in high school, and he was kick returner in high school as well. He would argue with the Penn State coaching staff, put me back, let me return kicks as a linebacker. You want to talk about scheme versatility, Micah Parsons can absolutely fly. Think of a guy, different body types, but Devin White for the Buccaneers, how he can change a defense. He can be all over the field. He can cover tight ends. I think Pro Football Focus had him as the best graded blitzing inside linebacker that they've ever studied. I mean, that's high praise. He's the guy, LeVar, you know this. He's the first true or redshirt freshman to ever lead the Nittany Lions in tackles at that historic school. A lot of really good linebackers.
Call it linebacker James.
I can't
do it on national television.
I can't do it. Nope.
Do it on national television, James.
Can't do it. Maybe for maybe some decades, LeVar, but I think it shifted a little. Anyway, we won't get into all that. But I love Micah Parsons.
I get it.
And I can't wait. Scheme versatility. You want him to rush. You want him to cover. You want him just to play a normal linebacker. He can do it all, and I think he's a rare special talent that's ascending.
You know, you talked about talents and who they play against and that mattering. Looking at Micah Parsons, I always tell people ask me, if you could compare him to a player, who would you compare him to? And I'm going to throw this one out at you. If Ray Lewis and Von Miller could have a baby, it would be Micah Parsons. And let me explain to you why. Because as a middle linebacker, one thing you saw Ray Lewis do is always get up off of the pile. Even if he wasn't the one that made the tackle, he was still getting up from the tackle. That's Micah Parsons. You made mention of that being the first one ever in the history to lead the team as a true freshman. But then his pass rushing ability, people lose sight of the fact he was a tailback and a defensive end in high school. And so, as you mentioned, he's just now really learning the position of being an inside backer. But it's that explosion, you know, that we saw in you when you were playing, that we saw when I was playing. When a Big Ten linebacker shows the closing speed, that acceleration that Micah Parsons has, you can't pass up on that type of talent.
No, you can't. Well, first off, I have to correct you. The explosion that Micah Parsons has was way better than mine. I had to take great angles, all right? I had to have a good step, and I had to study a lot of film, take great angles.
But okay, we got it.
No, but Micah Parsons you're absolutely right. Only 2 years really having your eyesight off the ball like that, and then the ability for a D coordinator to say, I'm not worried if he's matched up on an elite receiving tight end. I'm not worried if he's matched up on a back. You know what? We can rush him. We can put him at DN if we want. We can do him in pick games on the line of scrimmage. There's so much he can do. And the fact that I can't fathom. I played linebacker since freshman year in high school. And I've seen the game from that perspective for almost my whole playing career. This kid's only been at that perspective